Okay, well, welcome to this edition of Phrasal Verbs in your English class today. As I was just discussing with Ken, if you hear cat noises, screaming, something, those are my cats. They're playing, and I don't know what's going to happen. So, welcome. So, phrasal verbs. Ken, how do you feel when I say phrasal verbs?
Difficult to remember.
I would use the word terrified, maybe. I think phrasal verbs are one of the worst parts of English grammar.
Also,
Seriously.
in the colloquial English, phrasal verb is more used than you maybe concrete word. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is. And there's nothing we can really do except practice.
Right.
So that's what we're going to do today. And actually, there probably will be a part 2 of this class. So I'll have to do part 2. I'll have to add that to March's schedule because I've already sent February's schedule to Thomas. So in a couple months, we'll work on these some more. They're just difficult. There's so many. There's some you always have together, others you normally have apart, and then others in which you can either put together or separate them.
Mhm.
So what's the rule? There's really, I can't help you. You just have to learn. And you just have to practice. And that's the worst. I shouldn't say the worst. That's the most difficult part is if you don't have a person to tell you, no, that sounds weird, and you use, the phrasal verb either together or separate when it should be vice versa.
Right.
It's craziness. So, I'm really sorry because it's a terrible subject and I'm just here to help. So let's start by taking a look at this presentation we have here. Just a second. And where is it? Here it is. Almost lunchtime. I'm kind of hungry, so where is it? Slide 1. Here we go. Okay, so you should see that now. Great. Let me see if I don't think I'm going to be able to. I can make it bigger. Look at that. I'm going to be a technical genius one day because of Thomas. So, all right. So let's take a look at some of these. This is a phrasal verb is made up of a verb and a particle or particles. Now, I prefer to use the word preposition instead of particle.
Okay.
Okay, so again, this depends, just like if you say present continuous or present progressive. It's the same thing, it's just different. Some people use the infinitive without to, other people use base verb. So again, it's just kind of different words, but they mean the same thing. So PVs or phrasal verbs with more than one particle. And so basically we have two prepositions here. And normally we don't use two prepositions together. However, this is a little different context. So why don't you go ahead and read the first sentence for us, please? This one, okay?
Okay. My car ran out of petrol, so I had to walk the rest of the way. Equal to be empty or not have any left.
Okay, good. So what we're doing here is when you say run out, it means this, to be empty or not have any left. Now we have the of is because we don't know what you don't have. If you just say my car ran out, so I had to walk the rest of the way. Ran out doesn't make sense in this case. That's why we're going to have 3 words or 2 prepositions or particles in this case. Okay, it's just kind of what we always have to say. You can't say my car ran out petrol. Sounds terrible.
Right.
Here. Do you have any questions about that, Ken?
No.
Well, that's good. For now. What about the next sentence?
My brother really looks out for me. Equals to take care of.
Good. So here, take care of is also a phrasal verb. So looks out. If we say my brother really looks out, for.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to have another preposition here, which is for me or for his dog or something like that. And to take care of is the same. To take care, or, I hope that all goes well, be careful, things like that. But take care of something or someone. Okay, so that's what that of is doing there, just like the for. Okay, any questions?
No, and the student come and he said he cannot see the screen properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, hello. You don't see anything.
Yeah.
It says present to everyone. Let me click on that. You are screen sharing and presenting to everyone. Does that help?
It's still black right now. I can't see anything.
It's black. Okay, why don't I stop screen sharing and I'll put it back up for a moment. And we'll go back to the screen share and the slide 1 and share again. Okay, do you see anything now?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Now you do?
No, I just saw your picture frozen.
Okay. Well, maybe it'll come on in a second here then.
Yeah, you can go ahead and talk, and I'll try to listen and understand what you are saying.
Perfect. All right. Yep. So you'll have an extra challenge today, which is okay. So basically, we're talking about phrasal verbs and what they mean at this point. So, Ken, if you'd like, why don't you read the next sentence? And I do want to mention that this article should not be in bold. Okay, come down with is just looking at here. Okay.
My daughter was coming down with cold, so I decided to let her stay off school for the day. Equals to be getting ill.
Good. I mean, we do need a cold to mean that she's coming down with a cold, but it shouldn't be in bold. So to come down with is basically to get ill, to get sick. And in this case, basically she has the first symptoms of a cold. So, and to let her stay off school for the day. I personally wouldn't say this. I think this is more British English. So I let her stay home is probably what I would say. So, any other questions? Have you heard of come down with?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Come
so it's
down.
not uncommon. Okay.
And should this is should be used or should not?
It should be used because it's a cold, but it should not be in like the black part, in the black form.
Got it. Yes.
Come down with.
Is there another phrasal verb like coming up with, and the opposite?
No, to come up with is for an idea, for example. So I can say, I came up with a great idea, for example. And so that preposition changes the meaning completely.
Yeah.
You can also say, I came upstairs earlier or something. So, well, I came up the stairs, I should have put, but came up the stairs to separate these. Okay, so no, you can use it to come up with something, but it changes the whole complete context.
Yeah, I know. I mean, maybe it will mean like bring something, come up
right.
with a solution or come up with an idea. It's like
exactly, and that would be to think of. To think of, or to physically go up. All right. And the other thing that's difficult with phrasal verbs is not just together, the separation, or the whatever. It's because they normally have a physical and figurative meaning. And that's what we're looking at here with the came up. I came up with a great idea is figurative. I came up the stairs is obviously physical because you can physically do that.
Yeah.
So they're quite complicated. And Osama, do you see the presentation now?
Yes, I can see.
Perfect. All right, good. Any other questions before we continue?
No.
Okay. Perfect. Well, let me go ahead and I'll go here. So, Osama, now that you can read this, why don't you read this first sentence for us with the meaning, okay? So this whole part.
Okay. My friend is going out with a guy twice her age. Be dating, having a relationship. Yeah. Going
Good.
out with someone, it means like date someone, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what it means. And if you say my friend is going out, sure, that just means that your friend is maybe going out because it's Friday, and we don't know any other information. Now, when you say with, go out with, now you need to add that person. Okay, and here it has some extra information, so that's fine as well. Okay, so dating or having a relationship. Questions there. No? Well, Ken, because you read the other sentences, let's continue with Osama and he can read, how about the next sentence, okay?
Look to me.
No, to Osama, because
Okay,
you
sure.
read the other sentences, sorry.
Theo really look up to his father, to admire and respect someone.
Exactly, so good. Again, if you say Theo really looks up, or Theo looks up, that's going to mean the physical look up. It doesn't mean to anyone because we don't have that extra information. Okay?
We also look down, and it's meaning the opposite meaning when you look down to someone.
Yeah, to look down on someone means that you don't think very highly of them. They're not a very good role model, let's say. Okay. So yeah, to look down on someone. And again, we're using a different preposition here. You don't look down to someone, you look down on someone. And this could also be the physical. I'm looking down on my family who's in the park, for example. Maybe you're in a tall building or something like that. Okay, so that's another really good option. And the last sentence here.
Should I read it?
Yeah, that would be great.
My aunt come across quite shy, but she's actually very shorty.
Okay, good. So for example, if seem, appear, sound, look like, seem like weren't difficult, we now have a phrasal verb that could be substituted as well. So, I think it just continues to get more difficult, but this is what happens when you're learning a language and, you find all of these kind of different things that you can use and say and so, it's just like I said, it's practice in using them. And if you want to change your vocabulary a little, we can, work on that. So yeah, that's basically it. So any questions here?
Come across as is as necessary.
It is because as works as our kind of connector for the comparative form. So my aunt comes across shy. I suppose you could say that. But I think that's more of a native speaking thing. I don't think it's necessarily correct because we need something to connect it. So she seems quite shy. Seems we wouldn't need that. She seems like a shy person. We're then comparing her to a shy person. So my aunt comes across as quite shy.
Okay.
So yes, it's best if you do use it. So good, good. Any other questions?
Yeah, what about come across without us? Like I came across someone means to meet him or what?
I came across. Yeah, to come across something means, like you said, to find something. So again, it means a completely different thing.
Okay.
And again, these are very difficult. As I explained to Ken before you joined, this is one of the worst topics for me. It's just really difficult. And as a native speaker, I understand the context or how you might use it or something like that. But as non-native speakers, it's a lot more difficult to understand the context when you didn't grow up with this. So it's quite difficult, but don't worry, we can do this little by little. Okay? We have to think positive. Good. Well, let's move down here then and see this part. So, okay. The ins and outs again. Some phrasal verbs have more than one meaning. Some, I would say most, if not all. There are 6 meanings of the phrasal verb make out. Here's one example. I can't make out what's written here because the writing is so messy. You can't see something. You can't understand. Okay? Any questions here so far?
No.
Okay. So my next question is, what else is make out? Can you think of other meanings?
Maybe do well, doing well.
Doing. Okay, like making out just fine, for example, I suppose. Yeah, that could be one. Think of any?
Does it have relation to dating?
Kind of. It has the meaning of to kiss, for example. To make out means that you're kissing for a while. So
Yeah.
there is that as well. You can also pretend something. Someone can make out that they're sick, for example, but they're really not. So there's that as well. We can make a check, make out a check to someone. So it's writing their name when you write out a check to someone. So there are different meanings here. Let's go down of these. And here I thought we were going to talk about the differences. Well, no, that's fine. So make out has many different meanings. To perceive, which is kind of what we saw there. I think that's basically. Yeah, that's all that I can think of. So.
What about made up? Made up, is it the same?
Well, makeup just means to kind of apologize, or maybe you're fighting with someone and then you make up. I
mean, like when you create story or.
To make up. Yes, is invent.
Exactly.
Invent a story, for example. Yeah, to make up.
Because I've heard it a lot. They when ask someone, where did you get this story from? They will say, I just made up. I made it up.
Exactly. I made it up. I mean, makeup can also mean the stuff that women put on their faces that makes them have colors. So makeup actually means a lot of different things. Work out can mean I'm going to work out a math problem. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to work out at the gym. So there's a lot of different things here that are involved. It's just so much information that it is quite confusing. But, like you said, if you hear it a lot, kind of try and understand it. Try to understand it, and that way it will be a lot easier for you. Okay? But little by little. So, yeah. Now, this is absolutely difficult. Absolutely difficult. So, why don't we take a look at this next part here? And Ken, why don't you read, what's a transitive phrasal verb? Can you read the definition first?
Okay. Transitive means that something must take an object. Have a look at this example.
Okay, so the example is, I set up my company 3 years ago, which means to start something from scratch. What is to start something from scratch?
From at the how can I say from to do something from at the beginning.
Okay, good. Osama, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say the same from the beginning, like from zero.
Exactly. You have no help. You made it from scratch. You did it from scratch. You did everything from the beginning. Okay. So that's perfect. And Osama, can you read the last part here where it starts with some? You are muted. Do you want to unmute yourself so you can read? Or not. Ken, why don't you go ahead and read this last sentence then?
Okay. Some phrasal verbs can be both transitive and intransitive. For example, drop out or drop out of school.
Exactly. So, drop out. I'm trying to think of drop out. He dropped out. He dropped out. I think this just depends on the context, because to drop out, I mean, basically means to quit something.
Right.
Or to withdraw or something like that. So it's going to depend on the context and the structure of your sentence more than that. Okay. Any questions? And drop out of school just means that you stopped going to school.
Right. And can I say drop something out or drop out something?
Drop out. Drop out something? No. If you have another word or a noun after that, it's going to have to be of. Drop out of the race, drop out of school.
And can I say drop something out?
Sure. For example, he dropped a book out of the window. For example, that's to physically, drop something. So yes, that's good. Any other questions?
No. Thank you.
Okay. So Osama is still mute, but that's fine. So if he needs anything, hopefully unmute himself. Let's continue down. So now we get into the most difficult part. The inseparable and separable phrasal verbs. Like I said, some are one or the other, others are both, and this is where life gets complicated. So to try and understand this, why don't we go ahead and read what's an inseparable phrasal verb, Ken?
Maybe Osama unmuted, so.
Yeah, I know. And oh, there you go. Now you're not muted.
Okay. This means that the direct object must go after the particle. The noun and the particle have to stay together. They to be separated.
Good. So the example is the burglars broke into the house through the back door. So the particle in this case, or the preposition, is into. Okay, broke into the house. You can't say broke the house into. And that's basically, and then you say why and how, and I say, I don't know, it's English. This is what happens. So this is one of those complicated parts. The burglars broke into the house through the back door. Let's take a look at the next page and see if we can distinguish here. What's a separable phrasal verb, Ken?
Okay. If the direct object is a noun, then it can be separated from the particle. Clean the mess up or clean up that mess.
Mm-hmm. And my question, I mean, like I said, I don't even fully understand why we say things like we do. This is one of the things that we're just, I mean, the house is a noun. From these rules, it sounds like we should be able to separate broke the house into, but we can't. And so as you know, as a native speaker, it's really difficult for me too to kind of understand yes and no, and all I know is by sound, what sounds good and what doesn't sound good. So clean that mess up or clean up that mess. Personally, obviously, this cleanup is what I would probably use. Obviously, clean that mess up is also perfectly fine. There's no difference. The only difference that I could probably hear is clean up that mess. Both of these are used in the imperative form, and the imperative form is used most for kind of demands or, you know, to tell someone to do something, to instruct someone to do something. So the fact that it's clean that mess up or clean up that mess, I think clean up that mess has a little bit more force. It's a little bit stronger. You must clean that up, basically. Okay. Questions with that so far?
No.
No? Okay. Osama, why don't you read it? It says new slide, but the next one, okay?
Okay. New slide. If the direct object is pronoun, then it must go to the.
Can you read the example too, please?
Okay. The teacher told him off for not doing his homework, not tell off him.
So when it's a pronoun, so what are our pronouns? Me, you, him, her, it, us, them, and you for also plural. Okay, so supposedly when it's a pronoun, let's see. To put him. Trying to think of another example. Actually,
I don't know what does it mean. Told him off.
That's a good question. I'm sorry. I'm focused on the structure. Yeah, to yell at somebody. The teacher yelled at him. Yell at him. And then if we go forward, should say go back to where I set. No, I was set up. No. I don't think it's here either. I can't remember. No. Something with the no. So I was looking for the look. No, look or the take care of him. And we can't separate those either. I took care of him, for example. So again, to me, the rules aren't clear in general. You know, as again, I said at the beginning, they're separate, not separate, or they can be either or. So it's really not very helpful at all. All right, good. So these are some more of the meanings, okay? So let's look at the sentences and then we'll talk about what we think they mean, okay? So Ken, why don't you read number 1, please?
Okay. They are constantly making out, and it makes me uncomfortable.
Good. So context?
Constant making, maybe interfere, to get annoyed.
Right. They're getting annoyed because this actually means the kissing one. So they're constantly kissing and it makes me uncomfortable. So there's that. All right, Osama, what about the next one? We'll work and see what that means.
I can't make him out even though I've known him for years.
Good. So what kind of context are we talking about?
I think the same with the previous one, like the kissing one too.
Okay, well, actually, it's different.
Like going on dates with him or something.
Okay. I get a different idea. Ken, what do you think this make out could mean?
I'll make him out even though I know him for you. Maybe harder to deal with.
Okay. Kind of. I mean, if you say I can't deal with him even though I've known him for years, sure, that works. But in this case, what they're talking about is I can't make him out. I can't physically tell which person he is, even though I've known him for years. So this is referring to something physical.
Figure out.
Physical.
Yep, something physical.
Okay.
Can't make him out. If I know what he looks like, but maybe there's a...
Sorry, his outlook changed a lot?
Yeah.
That's why?
That could be, or because you can't see very well. It could be for a couple different reasons. There's not a specific reason listed here. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, next one, Ken, is it your turn to read?
Okay. She always make out that she knows the answer when she actually has no idea. That's kind of telling a lie. Pretend.
Okay, good. She always pretends that she knows the answer. Exactly. It always seems. So this is the one example that they had here in the presentation. It always seems that she knows the answer when she actually has no idea. So yeah, it could also mean pretend in this case. That's good. Any questions before I continue?
No.
Okay. All right, now, this is more difficult because it's transitive or intransitive. So what do they mean, and are they transitive or intransitive? Our memories and make sure we have you figure out the context and talk about transitive. Come on. Here we go. So a transitive is something means that something must take an object. Okay. And then intransitive has to be the opposite. Also, it's not separable. Okay. Okay. Oh, perfect. So the first sentence says, I think it's going to snow later, so you'll have to watch out when you're driving. First, what is the meaning of this sentence?
Watch out means to be careful.
Exactly. You have to be extra careful because it's going to snow and it could be slippery. It could be ice and things like that. So that's good. Now, talking about the transitive or intransitive.
Intransitive,
Why?
because there's no object for this.
Okay. So, are you sure it's transitive then, or transitive?
It's transitive because no object. Transitive, that means must take an object. So seems like there's no object. So intransitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Like I said, it's good to have this clear. It is complicated. So let's. I don't want to show you those things. Too far. Ah. Oh no, that wasn't too far. Hold on. I. Easier when I just have the whole slides. Okay, so this next one says, I hate this course I'm doing at the moment. I think I'm going to have to drop out.
To get on, to get
So transitive or, I'm sorry, let's do the meaning first.
the meaning is should be to get out.
Yeah, to get out, to leave. Okay, that's fine.
Or to leave.
Intransitive.
Intransitive,
Why?
because there's no object again.
Good. And there's really, I mean, if you say watch out for the snow, then yeah, then it would be transitive because we're talking about the snow in that moment. So again, it's the structure of the sentence. I'm sorry, to watch out for the snow. That was that one. To drop out of school, then yes, would be transitive. So then it says Brian decided to put off the meeting until tomorrow. Meaning?
Delay.
To delay, yeah, that's actually a really good word. To delay, to wait until tomorrow. So that's good to not have the meeting today, but tomorrow. And transitive or intransitive?
Transitive,
Why?
because it has object, the meeting.
Good. That's fine for me. That's perfect. And my friend got the job, but she had to turn it down because she would have had to move.
I think it's quit.
I'm not
sorry, go ahead.
To make her
exactly.
make her
I'm sorry, say again?
maybe it's not perfect.
Right. She basically said no. To turn down something means that you're saying no. First part. And then transitive or intransitive?
To turn it down. Intransitive again.
Okay. Why?
Transitive because of it. But it includes two phrasal verbs, so I'm not sure.
All right. Osama, do you have any suggestions for us?
Not really. I don't know what's different between transitive and intransitive.
Well, that's fine. Let me go back up here again. For if it's separable or inseparable, and that's what we need to look at. But oops. Transitive means that something must take an object. Well, it is an object, and so for me, it's going to be transitive.
Mhm.
And now let's take a look if we go down. And of course, it's going to go slow. And we are separating this. So if the direct object is a noun, then it can be separated. Well, we don't really have noun here, but if we look down, I have to go down again. And don't want to go too fast. Okay, so now we might not have the actual noun right here. Refers to the noun. The difference. So that's why we can separate it. She decided to turn down the job because she would have had to move. And so again, it depends on the structure of the sentence. Questions?
No.
Okay. Down here. So what do you think these two phrasal verbs mean? Again, we're talking about make out. Please make it out to Thomas Fields to the sum of 150 pounds.
Maybe to send money to.
Yeah.
I forgot
to Thomas
the word.
Fields.
Yeah.
A check.
Yeah, check. Yes.
Check, that's American spelling, and check. This is British English spelling. So check and check, they're pronounced the same. But yes, he's making a check out to. Please make it the check out to Thomas Fields for the amount of 150 pounds, or the sum. And then the second one is, I can't make out what she's saying because she's mumbling. What does this mean?
To understand. Or to, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, I can't understand what she's saying.
Right.
Crazy. Well, what I think we'll do is we'll stop here for today. I think we've had enough of phrasal verbs. So, you know, again, it's just practice. And a lot of people will ask me, well, what are the most common phrasal verbs? What the most common ones are. That just depends on the language you use, who you're speaking to, if it's work, if it's personal. So it just completely depends on everything. So I can't tell you, okay, these are the top 10, these are the top 20 most common. Maybe watch out, look at, look up. Look up, you can look things up in a dictionary or online. So there's just so many differences that just little by little we have to practice this. So I mean, I will do some more phrasal verbs, but I don't really enjoy them myself because they're so difficult. So do either of you have any ideas on what might help you more with learning phrasal verbs?
In my case, there's no regular rule for this, so I catch the verb by my feeling. I mean, especially that object insert in the such thing. Tell him off sounds better, and tell of him it sounds strange. So yeah.
Exactly. So sometimes it's just instinct, and that's because you've either heard it before or something is telling you that no. So yeah, Osama?
I also can't catch the meaning just according to next phrase. Sometimes I need to listen to the whole sentence so I can.
Exactly. And there's, like I said, there's so many different phrasal verbs, and it depends on the structure, the context, lots and lots of different things. So, you know, just if you don't understand something, just tell the person who's saying it, just say, hey, I don't understand. What does this mean? Because there's so many different phrasal verbs. It's terrible. It's like I said, it's one of the worst subject areas for me because it's nothing that I can do. It's just you need to practice. So, I mean, we'll continue. We'll do some more phrasal verbs. Don't worry about that. You know, good and bad. I mean, it's what it is. So maybe if you can remember one, or today I think some of you learned tell off. So it is good. I don't know if you'll ever use that. Hopefully not. It's not normally very positive. But you know, just in case you do hear it, you can say, "Hey, I remember that. I read that once," and so hopefully you remember. The next thing I want to mention is that next time we're going to be looking at some vocabulary about nature. And the class I'm going to do is called The Great Outdoors. And so we're just going to look at some different vocabulary from the outdoors. It's always good to learn about new vocabulary, and it's not very common, the great outdoors. So maybe we can learn some good stuff, and you can, you know, tell stories that way. Maybe one time you went camping, then you can talk about it and things like that. So very good. And any other questions?
So
Comments? Yeah.
Next class it would be Wednesday.
Yeah, we're back to normal, the schedule, except there's, I think because Christmas Day, the 25th, is a Monday, I think I'm doing class the Friday before the 22nd.
Okay, I got it.
And and then also for January, January 1st, we do have a class, even though it's a holiday, I think everywhere. I think. But that day I want to talk about our New Year's resolutions and things like that. So, talk about the new year, in hopes we can get excited and motivated to learn English and to do more things in English or different language if you want to learn in a different language. So we can do lots of different things. But yeah, double check this schedule just because December is a little crazy with all the holidays and things like that. So that's it.
Where
Well,
do you
good.
get the schedule on the website?
Yeah, well, we have it on the Intenga one. Ken, do you have the German website? It's in
Yeah.
German, but it's easy just to kind of click, you're there, and then you click on the first class that you see. And they normally have it in English and in German. I was going to say Spanish, but that's not true. So that way it's just easier. So when Ken puts it in the chat box, click on a new tab, or you'll just leave, and basically that's what we'll be doing anyway in a second here. So
Let's almost link his German website on this homepage. Yeah,
okay.
English. Scroll down the box, and there's a link to his German website.
Like,
such ways you can get into the class as well.
Perfect. I only have the back. Why I could find the intenga.com one. But good. Well, thanks, Ken. And so just join as much as you can. Also, we're on Facebook as well, so you can look us up online and you can join that group too. I post the links just before the class every time, so you're obviously more than welcome to join that and post things in English on there too. So wonderful. Well, both of you have a great day. Thanks for coming today, and hopefully I'll see you both on Wednesday. Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
All right.